Leominster City Council meeting is funded in part by DeCarolis Insurance Agency at www.decarolisinsuranceagency.com and by Avidia Bank at www.avidiabank.com.
For public service, of which I will not be participating. Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. This is a public hearing on Petition 55-22 from Verizon New England, which is requesting permission to locate poles, wires, cables, and fixtures, including the necessary anchors, guys, and other such sustaining and protecting fixtures to be owned and used in common by the petitioners along and across the following public way, Merriam Avenue, to place one solely owned pole numbered T.104S on the east side of Merriam Avenue at a point approximately 163 feet northerly from the center line of Shadow Lawn Drive. The reason is to replace one solely owned pole on Merriam Avenue at the request of an abutter to remove a trespass and to provide the distribution of intelligence and telecommunications. So we had a public service subcommittee meeting earlier this evening, and a representative from Verizon is here to answer the questions that we raised in writing after our last city council meeting. There were also the abutter who's most affected by this, as well as a man who lives across the street, another homeowner who would also be affected by this. So if the representative from Verizon would like to come up to the microphone and just give us your name, sir, and your location, and then you can answer the questions that we asked earlier.
Good afternoon. Name is Alexander, last name Marrero, M-A-R-R-E-R-O. I'm a resident of 17 Cross Street, apartment 20, Marlborough, Massachusetts. I am an employee of Pike Telecom and Renewables LLC, an authorized contractor for Verizon of New England Incorporated. I've been asked to talk about this petition number 5522 for the placement of a new pole number 104S to be placed on Merriam Avenue. This will be replacing the previous pole 104S that has already been removed from the property of 438 Lindell Avenue. This pole is being placed in support of existing pole 104, which is across the street, right in front of the property of 660 Merriam Avenue. This pole is being placed to support the overloaded pole 104. Already took a look at pole 104, and the pole 104 is actually starting to lean because of the removal of the previous stub pole. It's leaning towards 660 Merriam Avenue. So as we discussed in the subcommittee, in the committee meeting, some alternatives that were talked about was burying the cables in order to be able to remove the existing pole 104. Another option is to replace the pole with another size and class. So Verizon feels that the new stub pole should be placed across the street, as it's the most cost-effective and the least intrusive option. If we go underground, for example, we had to close down the street, tear it up, put in a new duct bank, basically, and then my understanding is a street which recently paved, so basically would be tearing up practically brand-new pavement to do that. The other option is to place a new pole. So that is a temporary fix, unfortunately, because in a couple of years, the new pole is going to start leaning as well because of the weight that the pole has and the fact that there's service cables that are pushing it towards 660 Merriam Avenue. So I'm here to answer any questions you might have about this particular petition.
After our last public hearing, there were several questions that we did raise in writing with Verizon, and some of them were responded to. We did ask for an updated plan with the poles as they now exist, and we still didn't get that. The plan that we are evaluating that we have still shows the pole on the far side of Merriam Avenue, but that was removed 3 weeks ago, as the abutter explained earlier, so we did not get a new plan. We also asked that if we could have the exact location where the new pole was going in, because the abutter had asked about that as well, and in a response that I'll get to in a minute, Verizon decided not to do that, not to mark up the street. And then we did ask about the cost of the project and who would be responsible, and you answered that earlier. You thought about $2,000, and Verizon would be responsible for the cost. We asked for a condition of the pole in front of 660 Merriam Avenue, and I believe you said it was in good condition.
Correct.
And then why not install the wires underground? Because that's really, it's more costly. Is that
correct?
Fair? Right, it's more costly. So at this point, we still have the outstanding exact location that the abutter would like, and we would like as well, to be marked in the street, and then also to ask about alternatives, which the homeowner at 660 Merriam Avenue asked about. What are the alternatives for offloading some of the weight on the pole that needs, stabilizing? And I guess it's crazy to me that a telecommunications company would install cables and wires on a pole that it knows that pole can't sustain that weight. So, it's a question for this particular pole. Can some of those be offloaded, some of those cables? And it's also a question, it's a broader question, because, this will come up again throughout the city or in some other part of the city, as to how Verizon makes the decision to place any number of cables and how they evaluate, whether or not those poles are going to be sustainable.
Basically, Verizon places a number of cables in response to any service requests that might be. So usually, if there's several residential or commercial customers that are requesting service, a new cable is placed around the pole. Then once the installation is done, the amount of cabling construction determines that the amount of cabling would pose a problem to the pole, then they go back to engineering and request the pole to be installed. In this case, apparently construction just installed the pole without going to engineering in order to go to the easement process and request all the legal documentation and all that, which we already discussed with the customer. But that's essentially what happens. Basically, we install cabling in response to service requests, and then if for some reason construction determines that the pole is not in the state, i.e. it can't support itself, then they go back to engineering, and then engineering determines how to best respond to that problem. So in this case, engineering agrees with construction that the best response is to put a support pole across the street, because it's the most effective way to respond to that. And it's the best way to respond to that without having to interrupt service, because if we have to reroute cable, then it's a service interruption to any customers that are down the line.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep, thank you for that. Does the Public Service Committee, Councilor Frida?
I'm good.
You're good, no questions? Councilor Brady?
Just a quick question. You had mentioned a third option of changing the weight or class of the pole.
Correct.
Okay. Can you go into what that would be?
So the existing pole 104 is a standard 40-foot class 2. We'd be replacing it probably with a 45 Class H. Class H being the thickest pole, I believe, is around 1.75 feet. So again, it would only be a temporary resolution because eventually, since it's wood, it's going to start rotting and it's going to start leaning eventually about probably a year or so, depending on weather conditions in the area. And because it has service cable going to 660 Merriam, it already has weight pulling it towards 660.
It's about when, I think we have to ask them to send it back to engineering
Oh, absolutely.
and, you know, come up with,
A better plan. Right, right. You done, Bill? Okay. Just to follow that up, so the pole, Verizon could install a taller, more substantial pole that would carry the weight of the cables and the existing service cables that are on that.
Correct.
But it would only last for a year because poles rot and then they start to lean, right?
Because of the weight of the pole, it's going to start to lean eventually.
Right. I guess they all do, right? I mean,
It depends on where exactly the pole is. I mean, I've seen poles that are 70 years old and they're as fine as when they were installed. And in this particular case, smog from vehicles, weather conditions, the cabling, it's very hard on that particular pole, and that's why it needs support, some sort of support.
okay. Are there any other councilors that have questions? Council Frida?
Yeah, just one quick question. What would the repercussions be if this were denied tonight?
So the pole's already showing signs of leaning, so that is a dangerous situation because if the pole is starting to lean, if we don't respond to it, then eventually the pole may fail. I can't guarantee that it's going to fail. I mean, it might just stay leaning for the next 20, 30 years, or it might fail at the end of the week. But we're just trying to make sure that we do everything we can to prevent it from failing.
Councilor Ardinger. Are you done, Councilor Frida? Okay. Councilor Ardinger.
I kind of have a question. If you replace it with a new pole and you say the new pole is going to start to rot it within a year, what's going to happen if you have an anchor pole across the street? Is that going to start to rot in a year?
Yes, but the anchor pole also is going to have an anchor wire that's going to be anchored to the ground, and the wire is the one that's going to take most of the weight of both poles. So even if the pole starts to decay or rot, it's the anchor wire that's going to take most of the weight from both poles.
Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Marrero, best case scenario, if you guys replace this pole, where are the anchor wires going to go?
So the pole would be placed right at the edge of the existing sidewalk, and we'd probably be using a sidewalk anchor, which means that the anchor would be 3 feet behind the pole. So it'd probably be right where the new fence that was installed by the homeowner is right now. But it's not going to be on our property. That's what's the important part. Neither the pole or the anchor will be on the property, which is what we're trying to avoid as well. We're trying to avoid the pole failure of 104, and while trying to avoid trespassing on the homeowner's property.
Okay. So the new pole, if this gets passed, it's going to be a new pole with the support wire going down. It won't be on her property. It'll be on the sidewalk.
It would all stay on public way on Marion Avenue.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sorry, Councilor Angelini.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm kind of confused. Maybe you can help me out. So if this is sort of an emergency situation, then why wasn't a representative here 3 weeks ago to attend the hearing that the company requested?
I can't answer that question. As a contractor, I just received what Verizon has asked me, and Verizon has asked me to be here today. They didn't ask me to be here 3 weeks ago.
Right, but you can understand confusing, it's kind of contradicting statement. It didn't, apparently, like I said, if it was an emergency situation, I suspect the company would have had a representative here 3 weeks ago. Secondly, there's a pole located at the corner of Miriam Avenue and Lindell Avenue.
Correct.
It happens to be leaning in the opposite direction than these poles. So is there a way you could get engineering to tie into that pole? It would probably help it maintain
That one, too.
its current structure. You know, maybe that one's about to be replaced, and you could tie that one in with the 660 to support it.
So right now, there's already a guide cable going across from the pole in front of 660 to the one you're mentioning. And basically basically what's happening is that pole 104 is supporting that pole on that corner because there is an angle from the cables going to Lindell Avenue.
So what load is that pole in the corner of Lindell, what load is that picking up?
So that should have the cable going up Merriam and the cables going across Lindell Avenue.
I'm sorry, but you, and I'm not, you use the word should, does that mean you're not quite, not certain, or?
Well, I didn't take a look at the pole, and I don't know what exactly the pole has.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, possibly.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep. Councilor Bedanza?
Yeah. I just want to see if we can establish three things, because I think that's the logic here. So, in your opinion, is there any reasonable likelihood of being able to remove load from the pole in front of 660?
So Verizon can try to reroute some of the cables on that particular pole out there, but basically, in this situation, they don't want to do it because of the expense. So Verizon's trying to minimize their expense while securing pole 104, basically.
Is there any reasonable likelihood of going underground with any of those cables?
I can ask them, but it's highly unlikely they'll be burying cable.
And last but not least, based on your opinion of having observed the pole in front of 660, it requires support, right?
Yes, the pole requires some sort of support. It's not an emergency, but it is something that needs to be handled as soon as possible.
And the plan that Verizon has on the table currently keeps the support pole across the street on the public way.
Correct.
Okay, that's all.
Okay. Councilor Arndinger?
Thank you. I'm a little confused because earlier on, when we were talking about the pole on the corner of Lindell and Merriam Avenue,
Correct.
I thought we were told that pole was put in there to help support the pole at 660. But that's not the case, you're saying?
No, it should be the other way around, because the pole at the corner of Lindell and Merriam should have cables going in 4 directions. So that one should be supported in all 4 directions.
So what was the purpose of putting that pole there? You're adding more load to the one at, in front of 660 with that pole there.
So I can't confirm why it was placed there, but more than likely their service is going up Lindell Avenue, and they needed to branch off Merriam Avenue.
More than likely. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other councils have questions? No? I guess we're all set. Well, thank you very much. And we still have, so I think that there are 3 things that we really still want to know. We want the location of the proposed new pole across from 660 marked. That's one thing. We want to ask Verizon for alternatives to offloading some of the cables to lighten the load on the pole in front of 660. And the council to my right here, Councilor Brady, asked about going back to engineering and asking them what other options they might be able to figure out for this particular problem. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All set? Okay. And we are ready to welcome back the city council president.
Do we recess the hearing?
I'm sorry. No, we're going to, yeah, no, there were two things. We do want to keep the public hearing open at this point. That would be my recommendation.
You want to ask if there's anyone else who wants to speak for the record?
Sure.
After we open the meeting?
We
Might
got to go
wanna
into
go
recess
back.
anyway, so we can do that.
That's fine.
Recess the meeting, go back?
Okay, yep. Does anybody want to make a motion to recess the meeting?
Yeah, continue, yeah, after the.
Right after
ask for a recess.
I
Okay.
start the meeting, we go back
Ask the
into it, and
public
you can
hearing
ask the
after.
public, and then we have other hearings. so-
All righty.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. I'm going to call the meeting for June 13th, 2022 to order. Will you all please stand for a salute to the flag? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm now going to take a roll call of the honorable members of the Leominster City Council, beginning with Councilor Bedanza.
Present?
Councilor Cormier. Present. Councilor Arndinger.
Present.
Councilor Angelini.
Present.
Councilor Brady.
Here.
Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr.
Present.
Councilor Deacon.
Present.
And Councilor Frida.
President,
All members are present this evening. Does Madam Vice President have any records to approve?
Mr. President, I've actually been made aware of a couple of typos and a couple of grammatical errors. So if we could just put this off, and I will get those changes over to the clerk's office.
Sure, okay, so we'll take care of those at the next meeting. Okay, we do have some additional hearings, so at this time I'd ask for someone to make a motion for a recess. Councilor Frida?
before we do that, Mr. President, could I say something?
Sure.
We lost a pretty important member of our community in the last few days. Richard Early was an incredible asset to the city of Leominster. All the veterans, POWs, MIAs, and military families. I've known Rich for over 40 years. He was a true gentleman. Vietnam Veterans Chapter 116, Memorial Wall at Carter Park would not have been possible without Rich's support and tenacity. He believed in the veterans in this city, and he felt that they needed to be recognized and wanted them to have the same respect as those that died in previous wars. He was so good at what he did that he was, quote, taken from Leominster to serve in the Commonwealth's direction to continue assisting our veterans, as well as expand his compassion and use of his wealth of knowledge to take care of many more veterans and their families. Today's the day we recognize those that serve in one of the most divisive, misunderstood, ill-advised military incursions in our nation's history. Those are Rich's comments at a ceremony at Carter Park marking Vietnam Veterans Day. He spent many decades walking point on the issue of POWs and MIAs. His intensity, resolve, and compassion will be missed. I would ask that we have a moment of silence as our former veterans agent and president of Vietnam Veterans Chapter 116.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we'll have a moment of silence for Richard Early. Thank you very much for that, Councilor Frida. Okay, is your motion still on the floor to recess? To recess, and seconded by Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr? Okay, all those in favor of going into recess, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, we are now in recess, and I think we have to finish up the last hearing with the public, and then we'll move on to the other ones.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So to finish this up, the public hearing on 55-22 Verizon New England, are there any members of the public who would like to speak in favor of this petition? Are there any people in the audience who would like to speak in favor? And I'll ask for a last time, if there's anybody here who would like to speak in favor. If there's anybody here in the audience who would like to speak against the proposal, now is your chance. For a second time, if there's anybody in the audience who would like to speak against this proposal, please join us at the microphone. And for a third and last time, if there's anybody who would like to speak, please speak now. Not seeing anybody in the public, Mr. President, I would ask that at this point we keep the public hearing open.
Do we need a new time for that?
Did you want to set one now or discuss it later on in the agenda? Sure, okay.
Okay. All right, so now we have a public hearing that we're running a little late, 6:45 PM for legal affairs. Mr. Chairman?
Thank you, Mr. President. C-84 is Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that the following ordinance change be adopted. Amend Chapter 16, Personnel, Section 16-30, Compensation Grades, by inserting therein the following sections for fiscal year 2022 through fiscal year 2024 as follows. And attached is a table for the 3 years referenced, which will be available at the clerk's office, if anyone would like to review that. As well, we have a letter from the mayor, very brief, dated May 17th, 2022, to the City Council. Dear members of the City Council, please adopt the attached ordinance update. This ordinance update reflects the non-union employees' salary and wage adjustments for the fiscal year 2022 through fiscal year 2024 time period. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact my office at any time. So this is merely the COLA, the cost of living adjusted increases for fiscal year 2022, 2023, and 2024. It's something, obviously, that's sent down every 3 years. And having said that, I would see if any members of my committee would like to opine.
I have nothing.
I'm all set, thank you.
Members of the council? All right, very good. Let me go to the public. Is there anyone in attendance this evening who would like to speak in favor of or in opposition to petition C-84? For a second time, is there anyone in attendance this evening who would like to speak in favor of or in opposition to petition C-84? For the third and final time, is there anyone in attendance this evening who would like to speak either in favor of or in opposition to petition C-84? Hearing none, Mr. President, I would declare this public hearing closed.
Okay, so the public hearing is now closed, and we have one more public hearing, which was scheduled for 6:50 PM under legal affairs.
Okay, one second, Mr. President. All right. This is a public hearing, continued public hearing, actually. Petition 48-22, Peter Angelini, Ward 5, City Councilor, requests to amend the City of Leominster Revised Ordinances, Section 12-2 as attached. This amendment is proposed to take effect July 1, 2022. Already to revise the fee schedule in the City of Leominster to begin July 1, 2022. Mr. President, on this petition, it's been kicking around for quite some time. I would like to move forward on this evening with a couple amendments. Actually, there's 3 in total, if I may. The first one is an error on, bear with me for 1 second. Item 19 on the fee schedule list, Sunday entertainment license, authorizing the Massachusetts General Law 136, Section 4. That's an error. It should read, single application, $20 per event. and annual license, $400 per year. The second amendment would be item number 63, home birth. Birth is spelled incorrectly. It should be B-I-R-T-H. And a third and final amendment would be to include the language at the end of this document that says, allow the city to renumber the schedule as needed, which is something that we've been doing on these types of petitions. And at this time, certainly if members of my committee...
Mr. Chairman, I think you also need to change the effective date, because that's not going to go into
No.
effect
You're
by July 1st,
You're absolutely correct.
even in the best of circumstances.
And I did have that here in my notes, but somehow overlooked it. So it would be adopted upon passage. Or something to that effect.
Effective upon passage.
And again, if, let me check with members of my committee. Councilor Bedanza?
I'm okay. I support it, and I'm in line with all of the proposed amendments by the chairman as well.
And Councilor Cormier?
I am fine with it as well. Mr. President, do we have to vote on the amendments on this first? Okay, I
Yeah.
just wanted
We
to
can probably
clarify that in my
Should we do
head.
that in regular session?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to clarify that. Yes, and then I have no other problems,
Thank you.
no other issues.
Any members of the council? Okay. Let me go to the public then. Is there anyone in attendance this evening that would like to speak in favor of or in opposition to petition 48-22? For the second time, is there anyone in attendance this evening that would like to speak in favor of or in opposition to petition 48-22? And for the third and final time, is there anyone in attendance this evening that would like to speak in favor of or in opposition to petition 48-22? Seeing none, Mr. President, we declare this public hearing closed as well.
Okay, very good. I think that is the end of the public hearings. We are now going to hold the public forum, which was supposed to be at 6:55 PM. The public forum is an opportunity for any member of the audience to speak on any matter specifically listed on the council agenda. Speakers will be asked to come to the microphone and state their formal name and address, along with identifying the specific item or items they wish to address. Each speaker is respectfully asked to keep their comments within a 2-minute time frame. The council will not be responding or answering any questions. However, at the discretion of the council president, clarification may be given. There is no one that has signed up, but I will nonetheless still go to the audience and ask, is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak at the public forum? Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jeff Stevens. I am coming in front of you as the City of Leominster's Health Director, and I am here to give explanation and speak in favor of C90 and C92. They are requests for funds for our refuse accounts. We're asking for a significant amount of money, $179,000, and we are also asking in C92 for about $16,000. The reason why we're doing so is because those two counts have run significantly short. The reason why that may have happened is we have a 5-year contract that has some parts of it that are level budgeted throughout the 5 years, and we are certainly aware the world has changed over the past 2 to 3 years on how a lot of us do our business, whether it be working at home, getting takeout food, however we're doing it. We're right now, as a society, creating more trash. What we need to do is cover the funds that we need to, that we're incurring right now to close out this fiscal year. We have 3 real amounts that are kind of the biggest. We have a shortfall of $50,986 in our trash. We have a shortfall of $87,000 in our recycling account. And we have our city dumpsters that are all over the city are short by $12,000 and another small amount by $3,500 for our carts and our lids that need to get replaced and repaired. And I think all of us know our carts for this program are actually starting to get a little old. There's a lot that are getting repaired these days. So we have another year of this contract. Some of these things I may not be able to change next year, but I'm going to see what we can do to help mitigate some of those costs. It may be difficult just because of the contract. And we are also going to be going out to bid for our next contract, and I'm going to be looking to find ways to not level project many parts of what this contract does.
Okay.
If anybody wants any clarification, I'm happy to do so.
Okay. If so, we can ask that you come back at the next meeting. That's when we'll be taking this up, is at the next meeting, and we'll be discussing it then. So right now, we're just listening, and we really can't have a debate about it, but.
That's fine. I just felt,
thank you.
For the amount of money we're asking, you thought you should have some clarification on why we're doing it.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
We appreciate it. We appreciate you being here. Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak at the public forum? Once again, would anybody else like to speak at the public forum? And for the third and final time, if anybody else would like to speak at the public forum, please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Seeing none, I now declare the public forum closed, and we are going to go back into session, and we are going to move right into communications from the mayor, beginning with C90. Madam Clerk.
C90, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests an appropriation of $179,000 be made to the refuse disposal expense account, the same amount to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account, regarding residential refuse and recycling tons picked up in excess of estimates.
And C-90 is referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. First time on the calendar, regular course, please.
And C-90 has been given regular course. Moving on to C-91.
C-91, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests an appropriation of $2,500,000 be made to the Fallbrook School Capital Project Fund, the same amount to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account, regarding Fallbrook Elementary School feasibility study.
C-91 is also referred to the Chairman of Finance.
C91, first time on the calendar, regular course, please.
C-91 is given regular course. C-92.
C-92, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests an appropriation of $16,847 be made to the refuse disposal expense account, the same amount to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account regarding excess fuel costs.
And C-92 is also referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. Regular course, please.
C-92 has been given regular course. C-93.
C-93, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests an appropriation of $80,000 be made to the Highway Fuel Depot expense account, the same amount to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account regarding excess fuel costs.
C-93 is also referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. Once again, first time on the calendar, regular course.
C-93 is regular course. C-94.
C-94, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests an appropriation of $25,000 be made to the Municipal Building Maintenance Expense account, the same amount to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account regarding cover ongoing bills to upgrade municipal buildings.
And C-94 is also referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Yes, Mr. President. Regular course, please.
C-94 is given regular course. C-95.
C-95, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests an appropriation of $43,000 be transferred from the stabilization account to the Highway Capital account regarding safe route to schools.
And C-95 is also referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Again, first time on the calendar, regular course.
C-95 has been given regular course. C-96.
C-96, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the Leominster City Council endorse the Leominster 2022 to 2028 Open Space and Recreation Plan.
And C-96 is referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
First time on the list, regular course, please.
C-96 has been given regular course. Moving on to C-97.
C-97, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that Kelly Marciano be exempt from the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 268A, 20B, conflict of interest.
And C-97 is also referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Regular course, please.
C-97 has been given regular course. Moving on to C-98.
C-98, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that Brianna Wark be exempt from the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 268A, 20B, conflict of interest.
C-98 is also referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Regular course, please, Mr. President.
C-98 has been given regular course. Moving on to
Appointments.
appointments.
Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the appointment of Bill Como to the License Commission, term to expire 4/15/2028.
And this appointment has been given, will be referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Regular course, Mr. President, and if we could schedule an interview on June 27th at 6:50 PM.
June 27th at 6:50 PM.
Should these have communication numbers?
Not our appointments.
No?
No. No.
It's confusing.
It is.
And we have another appointment. I believe there's a total of 3 of them. The second one.
Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the appointment of Isaiah Caranda to the Board of Assessors, term to expire 4/15/2025.
And this appointment is also referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Thank you, Mr. President. Regular course, and can we schedule a interview, please, for June 27th at 6:51 PM?
Okay. All right. This has been given regular course, and the clerk will schedule the interview for 6:51 PM on June 27th. And the third interview.
Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the permanent appointment of Nicholas Abruzzi to the position of Director of Recreation for the City of Leominster for a term of 3 years.
And this appointment is also referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Thank you, Mr. President. Regular course, and schedule an interview on June 27th at 6:52 PM.
Okay, this also has been given regular course, and we will have the city clerk schedule an interview for 6:52 PM on June 27th. Moving on to petitions, first time on the calendar, 57-22.
57-22, the City of Leominster Retirement Board voted unanimously to increase the COLA base amount for the City of Leominster Retirement Board retirees from $12,000 to $13,000.
And 57-22 is referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. First time on the calendar, regular course, please.
57-22 has been given regular course. 58-22, Madam Clerk.
58-22, Brendan O'Donoghue, on behalf of Best Buy Stores, LP number 1433, requests to renew license to deal secondhand articles at 33 Orchard Hill Park Drive, Leominster, Mass.
And 58-22 is referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Regular course, please, Mr. President.
58-22 has been given regular course. 59-22, Madam Clerk.
William Brady, Ward 1 Councilor, requests to install a street light on pole number NG1 at 7 Crescent Street.
And 59-22 is referred to the Chairwoman of Public Service.
Thank you very much. This is regular course with referrals to the DPW and the mayor.
Okay, 59-22 has been given regular course with a referral to the DPW and the mayor.
Can we add one more there?
Sure.
The wire inspector, fire department.
Absolutely. Yep.
Sure, and the wire inspector as well. I believe he'd be the one installing this, so. Okay, so those 3, that will be given regular course with those 3 referrals. Moving on to 60-22.
Gregory C. Chapdelaine, purchasing agent, requests to enter into a 6-year contract with the Animal Control Officer and the Animal Inspector Services.
And 60-22 is referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. Regular course, please.
60-22 has been given regular course. Moving on to 61-22.
61-22, Gregory C. Chapdelaine, purchasing agent, requests to enter into a 6-year contract for water backflow testing service. Regarding this will cover fiscal year 23 to fiscal year 28.
And 61-22 is also referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. Likewise, regular course.
And 61-22 is being given regular course. Now moving on to matters before the City Council. We first have the financial report. Mr. Chairman, are you ready to report?
I am. We began the fiscal year on July 1st, 2021, with a balance in the stabilization account of $19,904,603. During the course of the year, we added interest of $51,100, and transferred in from excess and deficiency, $4.7 million, for a total of additions equaling $4,751,100, and a total balance of $24,655,703. Appropriated from stabilization during the course of the fiscal year, including matters on the calendar for the first time this evening. If and when passed, the total balance will be $3,886,998, leaving a balance in stabilization of $20,768,705. And that is the financial report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is there any comments or questions on the financial report? Seeing none, we will move right into items under finance, beginning with C-82. Mr. Chairman, are you ready to report?
I am. C-82, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests an appropriation of $250,000 be made to the municipal building maintenance account, same amount to be transferred from excess and deficiency. This is regarding the completion of the copper troughs and gutter system on City Hall. If you've driven by in the last couple of weeks, you've seen the shiny, bright copper up there on parts of the building, replacing a system that's more than 100 years old. As we know, the building has suffered a number of roof leaks, and this is necessary work in order to solve that problem. And it would be my position, Mr. President, to grant C-82. I'd ask you to check with members of my committee.
Councilor Cormier?
I agree.
Councilor Angelini?
Agreement as well, Mr. President.
Okay, it sounds like we have a unanimous agreement to grant C-82. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-82 signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, C-82 has been granted. Does the chairman have an order?
I do. Order that the sum of $250,000 be appropriated to the municipal building maintenance account, same to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request for the adoption of the order. All those in favor of adopting the order signify by saying yea.
Yea.
Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, C-82 has been adopted. C-83.
C-83, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests an appropriation of $14,000 be made to the highway equipment expense account, same amount to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account. This is regarding the purchase of a utility gator. A utility gator is nothing more than a small little vehicle with a little bed in the back. This is intended to be used to maintain the rail trail. As you know, that's slated to be open on June 22nd. People are already out there using it now. I'm sure are already generating trash, and there'll be an assigned member from the DPW to go out there and police that. And this vehicle is going to be necessary to aid that person in his job. It would be my position, Mr. President, to grant C-83 and ask you to check with members of my committee.
Councilor Cormier?
I agree.
Councilor Angelini?
Agreement as well.
Okay, you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-83. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-83 signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, C-83 has been granted. Do you have an order?
I do, Mr. President. Order that the sum of $14,000 be appropriated to the highway equipment expense account, same amount to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request for the adoption of the order. All those in favor of adopting the order, please signify by saying yea.
Yea.
Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, the order has been adopted. Moving on to C-86.
C-86, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the appropriation of $338,550 to be made to the DPW Equipment Fund, same amount to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account. This is regarding the purchase of 2 sidewalk snowplows that will reduce old failing models. We have 2 of these in operation right now. Both of them are in pretty sad condition, and while the DPW investigated replacing them, they learned that, like a lot of things in this world today, they are not simple to get. So they're proposing to replace both of them at the same time, knowing that only one of them will ship for this upcoming winter, and the other one probably won't be available until the winter of 23/24. So I think they're doing the appropriate thing by ordering 2 of these vehicles, because by that point, we'll really have some very old and tired equipment. So, Mr. President, it would be my position to grant C-86. I'd ask you to check with members of my committee.
Councilor Cormier?
I agree.
Councilor Angelini?
I'll make it unanimous again, Mr. President.
Okay, you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-86. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-86 signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, C-86 has been granted. Does the chairman have an order?
I do. Order that the sum of $338,550 be appropriated to the DPW Equipment Fund, same amount to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request for the adoption of the order. All those in favor of adopting the order signify by saying yea.
Yay.
Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, the order has been adopted. Moving on to C-87.
C-87, and before I read this, I'll just note that the agenda has a typo in it. It should be $418,035, an amount that we accomplished by amendment at the last meeting, so that's how I'm going to read it. C-87, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests an appropriation of $418,035 to be made to the data processing account, same amount to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account. This is to replace computer software at both the police and fire departments. We are currently operating with software that is 50 years old. And this new software is likely to last a very long time, and it is necessary, obviously, to replace the aged software, as well as to comply with certain items of police reform. In that regard, Mr. President, I would be my position to grant C-87. I'd ask you to check with members of my committee.
Councilor Cormier?
I agree.
Councilor Angelini?
I'm in agreement as well, Mr. President.
Okay, you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-87. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-87 signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, C-87 has been granted. Does the chairman have an order?
I do. Order the sum of $418,035 be appropriated to the data processing account, same amount to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request for the adoption of the order. All those in favor of adopting the order signify by saying yea.
Yay.
Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, C-87 has been adopted. Moving on to C-88.
C-88, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests an appropriation of $1 million be made to the stabilization fund, same amount to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account. This is leftover excess and deficiency account money that we have traditionally paid into stabilization to be able to borrow from or use during the course of the fiscal year. Mr. President, it would be my position to grant C-88. I'd ask you to check with members of my committee.
Councilor Cormier?
I agree.
Councilor Angelini?
I'm in agreement as well, Mr. President.
Okay. You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-88. Is there any discussion? Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr, I think I saw your hand already. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I have a question. Through the chair to the finance chair. I was just looking on the finance report for the excess and deficiency total. Do we know how much is in there after this million comes out? And then there's another million?
I don't know the answer to that question, but I could certainly get you updated excess and deficiency account balance. And I may even look in the munis report before our meeting's over, because I don't know if it's in there or not. It could be. If I find it in there, I'll let you know at the end of the meeting. If not, I'll get you an update.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yep.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on C-88? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-88 signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, C-88 has been granted. Does the chairman have an order?
I do. Order that the sum of $1 million be appropriated to the stabilization fund, same amount to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request for the adoption of the order. All those in favor of adopting the order signify by saying yea.
Yay. Those
Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, C-88 has been adopted. Moving on to C-89.
C-89, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests an appropriation of $1 million be made to the Capital Investment Fund, the same amount to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account. These funds are to be set aside for capital items, including potentially the police station. This is a fund that I think our comptroller is going to start to use from time to time. In essence, it's a place to park some money. It's probably, in all likelihood, going to go to defray whatever the bond amount that we seek for the police station. Currently, as of today, before this appropriation, the balance of that account is $158,192. So if we pass this, we're going to increase that, obviously, by $1 million. And it's just a little savings account for future capital needs. And, Mr. President, it would be my position to grant C-89.
Councilor Cormier, are you in agreement?
I'm in agreement.
And Counselor Angelini?
I'll make it unanimous once again, Mr. President.
Okay, you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-89. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-89 signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, C-89 has been granted. Does the chairman have an order?
I do. Order that the sum of $1 million be appropriated to the Capital Investment Fund, the same amount to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account. Move for the adoption of the order.
Okay, you've heard the request for the adoption of the order. All those in favor of adopting the order, please signify by saying yay.
Yay.
Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, C-89 has been adopted. Moving on to items, by the way, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. There
You're
were
welcome.
quite a few items on there. You and your committee got right through those this evening. Now we have some items into legal affairs. 48-22, Mr. Chairman of Legal Affairs, are you ready to report?
I am indeed, Mr. President. C-48-22. Pete Angelini, Ward 5 Councilor, but we don't have to do all that again, do we? Okay, wonderful. We conducted and closed the public hearing this evening on this petition, and during the discussion, I raised, I believe, 4 amendments, and was hoping to get a motion at some point. I'll be happy to review them again. The first one would be on item 19, Sunday entertainment licenses. We'd amend that to say $20 per event, $400 per year. And the second amendment would be item number 63. We would correct the spelling of the word birth to B-I-R-T-H. And then we would change the adoption date effective upon passage, or however the councilor worded that. And lastly, we want to include language that allows for the changing, renumber the chart, I'm sorry, allow the city to renumber the fee chart as needed, which will make the clerk's life much easier. So I believe I need a motion for those.
Would anybody like to make a motion? Councilor Cormier? Anybody?
Move to make those amendments.
Second.
I'll
Councilor
second.
Bedanza, I think I saw your hand. Okay, is there any comments or questions or discussion on the amendments? Seeing none, all those in favor of voting to amend signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0.
No.
I'm sorry.
You have a nay.
8-1. I apologize. 8-1. The amendments have been made, and I'll give this back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Well, at this point, after 5 public hearings, I would recommend that we adopt this petition, and I would ask you to check with members of my committee.
Okay, Councilor Bedanza?
I'm in favor.
Councilor Cormier?
I agree as well.
Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to grant 48-22. Is there any discussion? Councilor Frida?
Although I'm not opposed to raising some of these fees, I just think now is not the time. People are paying exorbitant amounts for gas, for food. If there's something that they have to come to City Hall for to get a permit, I don't think we've got a lot of money that has come into the city in the past few months with ARPA money and federal money to help our citizens, and I don't think we should be taking the time now to raise the fee. I think it's a mistake. I know that we haven't done it in a long time, and they probably all need to be adjusted, but I just do not believe that now's the time to do it. I think there are too many people. Even if somebody wants to come in and put a porch on their house, to have to increase, and I know that's not our department, but it's another part of the city. to raise the fee just to get a permit to do it. I just don't think, if somebody has 2 or 3 things in the city, that could be talking a couple $100 increases. I'm opposed to this. I just don't think it's the time to do it.
Okay, is there any other discussion? Councilor Schaffel-Zephyr.
I agree that we should have, reviewed the fees. I think that that's a smart thing to have done because we haven't done it in a very long time. I do agree with the councilor to my left. I think the timing is bad because gas is over $5. Everybody knows it. Whenever the other day I almost fainted when I filled up my car. It was over $70. So I agree. I think it's a great idea. But right now, honestly, I think the timing is poor.
Let me,
Councilor, I saw Councilor Bedanza's hand, and I'll go to you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
I don't agree, I don't disagree with the sentiment, but here's the deal. We all pay these expenses, every single citizen. By passing this, we help all the citizens, because the citizens that are not seeking permits or licenses or what have you are going to pay for this one way or another, because the costs for the city go up, just like everybody else costs go up. So these aren't taxes. People come in here and they have a choice. They're not forced to pay these expenses. But all of us are forced to pay these expenses when we don't keep pace with the costs that are involved by the city employees to do this work. So what we're doing here is we are really helping the population, not punishing the population, by keeping the fee structure legitimate and real and up to date. So for the same reason that you're opposed to it, I'm in favor of it.
Mr. Councilor Angelini, I think I saw your hand as well.
thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple quick things. This initial idea actually was generated. A comment one night, we had a developer, I think, in here, and one of the councils asked the clerk, would it cost to generate these special permits? And in some cases, we have certified mail that's going out at 6, 7, 8, whatever it is now. That's gone up significantly. And so people are applying for multi-million-dollar projects, and the rest of the citizens are subsidizing that permit because it's costing us more than the $200 to actually issue that special permit. And if I may add, I agree. I mean, inflation has been terrible, and I think we all know the causes. But, back in, if these things have been decades, we had fees that were 50 cents. A postage stamp is more than 50 cents now. If you look at what $15 was in 1980, it's equivalent to $54.52 now. So I would suggest, with ample evidence, that whatever the fees we're setting today, they're in today's dollars, significantly cheaper than they were the date they were originally issued. That's just how inflation works. So, as the Ward 4 councilor said, for the very reasons that were mentioned earlier by the opposition, is exactly, precisely why this has been authored and sent down here for passage. And with that, Mr. President, I will yield the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any other discussion on 48-22? Okay, Councilor Frida.
I get the argument, I get the discussion, but I fail to see how we're helping people by raising these fees. I mean, if somebody's genealogical research, I mean, we're raising the fee for that? Okay. Zoning petition, some of these weren't even on here before. Special permits, I mean, I don't have the list of the old, so I'm trying to think of the average, how much they've gone up. But some of these are just people that are getting a permit to do something in the community. And we're asking them to pay more money just to be here to do something. I mean, I just don't see where we're helping anybody by raising the fees. By raising a marriage certificate? I mean, I don't, are we married?
No, that's not on here. We already did that.
We didn't do that?
Oh, wait, this one is a marriage certificate.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
did
we
do
did do
that.
the marriage certificate on this one. I was
So we're
thinking the business.
raising,
Yeah.
what does it take for somebody to come in and get a marriage certificate that we need to raise the fee for that? I mean, I don't know, there's a lot of things we should look at. And again, I'm not opposed to looking at raising the fees. I just think now is just really a bad time to do it.
Okay, is there any other discussion on 48-22? Counselor Brady?
Yeah, I just wanted to weigh in on it. The cost of doing business now has tripled, and the city's not immune from that. So yeah, some of these rates have to go up just to match. Some of the certificates we're issuing is costing us more money than we're bringing into it. So I understand it. I know it's never a good time, but it's reality. People are going into the grocery stores, they're paying, $5 a gallon of milk. Reality. We don't want it that way, but doesn't mean because we don't want it that way, it's not how it is.
Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, I think I'm going to do this in a roll call vote to grant 48-22, beginning with Councilor Bedanza.
Yay.
Councilor Cormier.
Yay.
Councilor Arndinger.
Yay.
Councilor Angelini.
Yay.
Councilor Brady.
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
Nay.
Councilor Deacon.
Yay.
Councilor Frida.
Nay.
And I will be recorded as yay by a vote of 7-2. 48-22 has been granted. And I just want to say thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I know this was a lot of work to put together to bring this, to us, get it to where it is this evening. And I thank you very much for that. It's been attempted and was unsuccessful many years ago, so now it's reality. Councilor Arndinger, did I see your
Yeah,
hand?
just a question. We had 4 amendments to this thing. So what we've actually voted on was the amended version.
Correct.
That's correct.
48-22
That wasn't clear in the
as amended.
explanation, but
As amended, yep.
as amended, okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to C-84. Mr. Chairman, are you ready to report?
I am indeed, Mr. President. Thank you. C-84, again, is Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor. Requests that the following ordinance changes be adopted. Amend Chapter 16, Personnel, Sections 16 through 30, compensation grades by inserting therein the following sections for fiscal year 2022 through fiscal year 2024 as follows. And once again, the schedule will be available at the clerk's office for anyone who may be interested in it. And we had no one participate in the public this evening, no one weighed in. And again, this is merely the COLA increase that we do every 3 years for non-union employee salaries and wages. I would, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, I would recommend adoption of this, and I would ask you to check with members of my committee.
Okay, Councilor Bedanza?
I'm in favor.
Councilor Cormier?
I agree.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to grant C-84. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I will also do this one in a roll call vote to grant, beginning with Councilor Bedanza.
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier.
Yay.
Councilor Arndinger.
Yay.
Councilor Angelini.
Yay.
Councilor Brady.
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
Yay.
Councilor Deacon.
Yay.
Councilor Frida.
Yay.
And I will be recorded as yay by a vote of 9-0. C-84 has been granted. We do now have an item under public service, 55-22, of which I am going to abstain, and I'm going to ask the Vice President to take the chair because this matter does involve my employer. Thank you.
And I am going to simply send it over to the chairwoman of the Public Services Committee, Sue Shalfo Zephyr.
Thank you very much. So this is 55-22. Do I have to read the whole thing? No, we've read it already. So this is Verizon New England requests permission to locate poles, wires, cables, fixtures, including the necessary anchors, guys, and other such sustaining and protecting fixtures to be owned and used in common by your petitioners along and across the following public way or ways, and this has to do with Merriam Avenue. So we had a subcommittee earlier this evening, where we had a representative from Verizon. We had 2 of the abutters come to the Public Service Subcommittee meeting, and then we also had a public hearing earlier this evening. And we still have outstanding questions for Verizon. So it would be my recommendation, I'll check with my committee, to give this further time. We did keep the public hearing open, and I would suggest that we give this further time. And I'll go to my committee, or you can go to my committee. Counselor Frida? Yeah. Counselor Brady? You're okay? Okay.
Absolutely agree.
All right, so the recommendation would be further time, please.
You've heard the recommendation from Public Services to leave, we have left the public hearing open and to grant this further time. Just can be a,
Yeah, did you want to establish the new hearing now?
I do.
Sure.
Yep.
I would suggest, do we want to do it a minute apart or like 5 minutes from the interviews? Our interviews start at 6:50 PM on that day, so I would suggest probably like 6:45, unless you think it's going to need more time.
How about 6:40?
Sure.
Just to give us 10
Yeah,
minutes,
that's
and
fine.
hopefully it won't take that long.
Quick
Okay.
question.
Yes.
Are we sure that Verizon's going to answer us in a timely fashion?
I can't promise, but I do email and have written correspondence to prove that we've been trying.
You could bounce it to, I mean, I don't know if you want to wait a month, but you could bounce it to the first meeting in July to give them a little more time.
And, well, based on some of his comments, it sounds
Emergency.
like we need to have a resolution pretty
Yeah,
quick
I get
before
it.
it turns into an emergency situation,
Yeah.
which we don't want.
No,
Get it? Yeah.
absolutely. No, yeah, my recommendation would be to schedule it at our next meeting. So I think 6:40 gives us 10 minutes, and hopefully we can get through what we need to.
Sure.
Thank you.
okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation to grant further time and to continue the public hearing to June 27th, 2022 at 6:40 PM. All those in favor, please signify in the usual manner. And by a vote of 8-0, the matter has been continued to June 27th at 6:40 PM.
Moving on to items under Ways and Means, C-85. Madam Chairwoman, are you ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. C-85, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests a resolution vote of support to enter into a tax increment financing agreement, or TIF for short, with Gerard Tool Corporation located at 561 Research Drive, Leominster, Mass. This was given at regular course, and it was put on for tonight with referrals to, I believe we have someone.
Gerard Tool is here, and so is the assessor.
So, Mr. President, can we ask them to come in, or do we have to have a recess?
We have to make a motion for a recess.
So moved.
Okay, so
Second.
Counselor Pedanza,
Second.
Counselor Shalfo Zephyr seconded. All those in favor of going into recess signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, we now stand in recess with the representatives that want to come in and just give us a quick explanation. I just want to remind everyone we're not in session, so we can't really debate, but we can ask questions and,
Amanda's out there.
okay?
I believe Amanda's out there.
Anybody who's,
Come on down.
Well,
thank you guys for coming in. If you all would please identify yourselves, just so we and the public knows who you are. Beginning down on the right-hand side.
Amanda Curtis, Economic Development.
Amanda, can you check the microphones? Just be sure they're on.
We on?
Am I on?
Just bring it a little closer.
Amanda Curtis, Economic Development Coordinator.
Okay.
Melissa McLeod. I'm an office administrator at Gerard Tool Corp.
Nick Julius, I am a production manager at Gerard Tool Corp.
William Connor, I'm the Chief Assessor.
Thank you very much. Okay, Madam Chairwoman.
hi. For those of you that I haven't met, I am Pauline Cormier. I'm the Ward 2 Counselor and the Chairperson of the Ways and Means Committee. The other committee members are to my left, Counselor Frank Arninger, and directly across from me, Counselor Todd Deacon. So we have the the request for the support of the resolution for Gerard Tool Corporation, and we'd like a little bit of background information, and I don't know how you want to handle this. Actually, why don't we start off with either Bill or Amanda, if you want to give us an idea of what the TIF is for, what it does, just for those in the who are watching that don't really understand the process and understand what it's about.
Sure, I'll be happy to. So in the case of TIFs, it's called the Tax Increment Financing Agreement, where the project is incrementally increase the burden on the owners.
Excuse me, sir, is your microphone on?
Is this on? Sorry. So in this case, the TIF is set up for 5 years, and the exemption begins in the first year at 100% and then is increased by 20%, or decreased by 20% per year. So the burden on the owner is incrementally increased over the course of 5 years. The purpose of a TIF is to encourage manufacturing and the creation of jobs. We work in concert with the state on these things. There's other incentives that a business like this qualifies for if we provide if the TIF is approved. And you know, there's other tax agreements that are available, but because this is a manufacturing project and TIFs are designed for manufacturing, Gerard Tool pretty much checks all the boxes of something that we would approve in this format.
Has the city, is there other TIF agreements within the city?
Yes.
And how have those worked out for the city?
I mean, I can't speak to public opinion, but I can say that as an assessor, they work out great. We have growth that is planned, structured, and when these companies that have agreements like this are held to task with their, especially like in this case where they're committing to creating 5 jobs. If they don't, they have to report that, and if they don't make it, the agreement's over. And we do end the agreements. We have done that, and you know, then it's fully taxable. It's a great way to get a business off the ground that's going to provide income and jobs to the city for who knows how long after. You know, as long as they stay successful, this is revenue for the city and jobs.
And the city and other businesses that have done this have been successful in the city?
Yes, and like I said, there's been others that have not. There's been others that have not committed and reached their commitments.
And in that case, is the city able to recoup?
They are immediately, whatever fiscal year that their agreement ends in, according to the structure, they're then responsible for their full assessment.
Okay. Okay. And either Ms. McLeod or Mr. Julius, do you want to give us some ideas about, fill us in a little bit on Gerard Tool?
So we're an injection molding company, and we have seen a lot of growth over the past 3 years, and we are completely out of room, and we need to grow, and we can't grow anymore in the building that we're in, and we just need to expand into this new building and get that going to create new jobs. We need to hire people now, but we don't have the room for anybody else to work, so we're just trying to expand and stay on the track that we've been on for the past 10 years, really.
And how many employees do you currently have?
We currently have 10 employees.
Okay, and you would look over the next 5 years into 5 full-time employees?
Yes.
And this is a big commitment on the company's part. You're investing a great deal of money into this, so it's in your best interest to make this work as well.
Of
Yes,
course.
ma'am.
And can you tell us a little bit about are you just expanding your building? Is there a building behind you? Give us a little idea of how you're going to.
No, so we're building an entirely new building. Right now, we're located on Viscaloid Ave, and we'll be putting up a new building on Research Drive.
Okay. And what's the difference in square footage from,
I believe it's a little over 10,000 square feet bigger.
okay. Okay. And Ms. Curtis, you're in support of this as well, obviously?
Yes.
And this is, and it's also our way of keeping this manufacturing in the city, correct?
Yes.
I just am aware of there's other cities and towns nearby that would love to have this kind of manufacturing and someone with this. How long has Gerard Tool been in business?
Since 1964, if my memory serves me correctly.
Okay. So we don't want to lose you. And this is a smart way to do this. And the city is going to be protected in the event that it doesn't work out.
Yes.
Okay. That's all the questions that I have. I'm going to open it up to other members of my committee. Councilor Arndinger?
Thank you very much. I have some reservations about TIFs, but I won't go into those because I understand that it's common business practice, and if we don't do it in the city of Leominster, there are plenty of other, as our chairman said, plenty of other towns that will gladly welcome you, so we're kind of obligated to do this. But one of the questions I have is if you default, as the assessor said, you jump right there from, say, 60% up to 100%. But is the city able to recover some of the past money or not? Is it just from there, just there for it?
No,
No, okay.
no.
Because
No.
I remember, it's kind of unrelated, but a windmill manufacturing company out Fort Devens, they got plenty, how many millions of dollars, and as soon as they got the money, they moved out of the state, and the state lost millions of dollars, and that's what I'm concerned about TIFs, is that there's nothing really to hold you here other than a promise that we're going to give you some tax breaks for a few years, and hopefully we'll be able to, find a nice building and stuff like that you can build and, keep you here. But I do have some reservations, but I will be supporting the TIF.
One thing that I can speak to about that is that we do take the amount of this project into light when we're structuring the agreement, and we have set this particular one up to be the minimum requirements. 5 years is the minimum by state law. So, other TIFs that we've had have been close to 20 years. So the risk on our end, by not structuring maybe the first 5 years as 100% exempt, we've taken that off the table.
Okay, thank you. That's all the questions I have, thank you.
Councilor Deacon?
Yes. So 5 years is the minimum, you're saying?
Yeah.
Has any other companies or corporations ever come to you and ask for an extension, maybe after the 5 years, and, they wanted to stretch it out even longer?
That has not happened in my tenure, and I've never actually even heard of that happening.
What is the city's average, roughly? Is it just pretty much standard 5 years on most agreements?
The ones that I've structured, yes, I will always shoot for the minimum whenever possible, if it makes sense. If a project was going to was going to be a lot bigger, like when I could point to AIS, it's a much bigger project, and it's structured over a longer time, but there's great more money involved.
Right. What is the formula for each year as it increases?
20%, up to 100.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Any other members of the council?
Thank you.
Councilor Angelini?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll pose my question to the folks from Gerard Tool. Are any of your customers here in Leominster?
They are not.
Okay. That's all I have. I was hoping you could say yes and I could follow up.
We would love it if they were, unfortunately.
You ambushed me, but I'm still going to support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Angelini. Councilor Brady?
I just want to weigh in because, one, bravo to have injection molding left in Leominster. You may be one of the few. And based on your years in business in Leominster, I think you've proven your loyalty to us. And with the amount of money that they are investing in the building, I think it's a win-win all around.
Thank you, Councilor Brady. Councilor Zephyr?
Thank you. How about employees? I mean, how many of your 10 live in Leominster, do you know?
I do. I think only one. They all live within, Sterling, Fitchburg, Leominster. I live in Leominster.
And this is for Bill. I think, I might have misheard, but you said that the 100% exemption is off the table, or was off the table? But in the first year of this TIF, it is 100%.
No, what I said was I could have structured it that they would have 100% for 5 years.
Oh, got it.
So what I do is try to be as close to the quickest and fastest resolution as I can that seems fair to both parties. Other structures have had, like, the first 5 years,
Right.
100% exempt.
Right.
And this just didn't make sense in this case.
So just for people in the public, so it's a $2 million investment that the company is making to build a new building to house an expanded injection molding operation. And the way the TIF works is that for the first year, it's the property taxes on the new building, right, on that it's a little less than $2 million because the land is valued at $76,000 or something, is that right?
Yeah, and I don't have the building appraised. Their $2 million investment also includes the fit-out and even employee benefits.
Okay.
So what I've estimated the final project to be is $706,000 for the building.
So that's the increment that the tax,
So the increment is the difference between the base value,
Yeah.
which this year is just land,
Right.
of $76,000.
right,
And then the full estimated value of $706,000. The difference is $630,400 that they're getting discounted
Right.
for that year.
right,
And then these numbers change as the assessment changes.
okay. All right, well, that's helpful, that's good to know. Do you know what the first year, what the total dollar, I mean, we could do the math, I'm
Yeah.
just curious.
It's in the
So,
chart. It's in the chart.
I don't have the chart in front of me. I have the agreement, I just don't have the chart.
Yeah, the
Do you have it?
chart's not on the agreement, but the first
Right.
year, the tax savings for them would be $10,000.
Okay,
For $139.
right. No, I mean, I think it's a smart way. It's a smart incentive, I think, that the city can offer businesses, and particularly manufacturing businesses. So, yeah, I'm happy to support it. Thanks.
Counselor Deacon, are you okay? I'm sorry, Counselor Bedanza, I'm just going around the table. Claire? I'm sorry, Counselor Frida.
So just to be clear for the public, the first year, there are no taxes.
Exactly.
It's 100%.
Except the land value.
And then it goes to the 80, and it's the 5-year. And it's a $2 million project? Is that,
They're investing $2 million. I have an estimate for building and land value that's less. I'm estimating $706,000 based off our calculations now.
and it's, everything's within the target area? I mean, I've been involved in about 15 of them in the 28 years I've been here. So I think out of all of those, maybe one failed, and it was within the first couple of years. So, the state, it was cut off, and the city lost no money on it. So, I mean, it's a great incentive, and it's great for a local company to be involved and to be moving into that development and research drive. And I wish you all the luck. I mean, I think it's a great incentive for you, and adding 5 new employees and hopefully maybe more. Maybe you'll warrant more down the road. But you're guaranteeing the 5, and preferably from Leominster. So, it's all good. So
Thank you.
I'm happy to support that.
I'll sit, Counselor Frida. Thank you. Counselor Bedanza?
Mr. Connor, obviously, the company's going to be doing a lot of fit up here with equipment, machinery. Do we collect any personal property taxes on that portion of the investment? Is it exempt because it's industrial?
Because they have a manufacturing designation from the state. So
But the concept here ultimately is that maybe this investment doesn't occur at all unless we offer the incentive, right?
Yes, very much so. And, that's the reason we take it into account
Right.
on the structuring.
And what we're giving up at this point, without the incentive, or at least doesn't exist. It's not on the tax rolls yet. So,
Well, maybe a business leaving the town.
yeah, okay. All right, thank you very much.
All set.
Yep.
Counselor Cormier?
I have no questions. Good.
Counselor Shalfo Zephyr?
Thank you. Just a quick one. Do you have a schedule for when you expect to add these employees? I mean, will you add all 5 in the first year, or you think like one at a time over the 5 years? I'm just curious what the
I think this
hiring
schedule
plan is.
was broken up across 5 years. It was 2 in the first year and then 1 each additional year.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Counselor, you?
We all set? Okay,
Okay.
all right. Thank you all very, very much. We appreciate it. We wish you all the best.
Thank you.
We are now back in session. Madam Chairwoman of Ways and Means, I will refer this to you.
Mr. President, or perhaps Madam Clerk, I don't believe we've read in the resolution. Is that something that needs to get read into the record?
I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay. Then I'm going to ask Madam Clerk if she wouldn't mind reading it for me.
will you pass it over to me? Thank you. Resolution Gerard Tool Corporation Tax Incentive Financing TIF Agreement, whereas the proposed project is located at 561 Research Drive, Leominster, Mass., which is within the boundaries of Assessor's Map Block Lot 503-3-18, whereas the City of Leominster has agreed to offer Gerard Tool Corporation a tax increment financing agreement. Said agreement is hereby supported by the City Council, and tax incrementing financing plan is incorporated by reference herein. Whereas Gerard Tool Corporation will invest approximately $2 million over a 5-year period and create an additional 5 permanent full-time jobs for residents of the city and of the North Worcester County Economic Target Area over a period of 5 years. Whereas the City Council of the City of Leominster strongly supports increased economic development to provide additional jobs for city residents and industrial activity within the city to promote and develop a healthy economy and stronger tax base. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of Leominster approves the project application for Gerard Tool Corporation and forwards said application for certification to Massachusetts Economic Assistance Coordinating Council for its approval and endorsement. Further, the City Council of the City of Leominster supports the mayor to enter into a tax increment financing agreement between the City of Leominster and Gerard Tool Corporation. Said agreement will provide for an exemption on property taxes based on the growth portion and assessed valuation of the property as follows. Real estate, the agreement calls for an exemption from taxation specifically on the increased value of real estate property as a result of the redevelopment as follows in the table shown below. Tax exemption formula, year 1, July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024, 100% of the increment. Year 2, July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025, 80% of the increment. Year 3, July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2026, 60% of the increment. Year 4, July 1st, 2026 to June 30th, 2027, 40% of the increment. Year 5, July 1st, 2027 to June 30th, 2028, 20% of the increment. In accordance with the requirements and regulations established which govern the implementation of such tax increment financing agreements, the agreement will be in effect at fiscal year 2024, July 1st, 2023, and will extend through fiscal year 2028, June 30th, 2027.
Thank you. Mr. President, it would be my position to, and I'm sorry, is it to grant the resolution or adopt the resolution?
Adopt.
To adopt the resolution, and I'd ask you to poll the members of my committee.
Okay, Councilor Arndinger
I agree.
and Councilor Deacon.
I'm in agreement.
Okay, so it sounds like we have a unanimous recommendation by the Ways and Means Committee to adopt C-85, and I'll ask, is there any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting C-80?
I think we need to do
Should we do a roll call?
Yeah.
We could, okay. All right, we'll do a roll call then, beginning with Councilor Bedanza.
Yay?
Councilor Cormier.
Yay.
Councilor Arndinger.
Yay.
Councilor Angelini.
Yay.
Councilor Brady.
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
Yay.
Councilor Deacon.
Yay.
Councilor Frida.
Yay.
And I will be recorded as yay by a vote of 9-0. C-85 has been adopted. We have one item under new business. and it reads, executive session with city solicitor, June 27th, 2022, at 6 PM. The city council chambers regarding update on litigations, any pending litigation that the city of Leominster is facing. We've all received a copy of the pending litigation, which is confidential information. We cannot discuss any of the content of it, but I will be asking if we take a vote that we want to have the city solicitor come in at the next meeting and at the time designated to go into executive session. Is there any discussion about that? Councilor Frida?
Just a quick question. This is not all-inclusive, is it? This list?
As of March 11th, when we requested it.
That's what I received. I did ask for an update in the meantime, and I received nothing further. So
Okay.
I reprinted what we originally got.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Okay, is there any other discussion regarding taking a vote to have the city solicitor come in? Councilor Bedanza?
Taking a look at the list, I know we can't discuss it publicly because it's litigation, but I was really kind of surprised by how little there is on the list. I can remember when I was city
I
solicitor.
don't think it's all-inclusive.
Well, I don't know, but based on what's on this list, I'd be hard-pressed to spend any money to have the city solicitor come here and talk to us about what's on this list. And the only case of any significance at all is, it looks like it's moot. So I would be opposed to expending any money for that purpose. We can re-ask if the list is inclusive, but based on this list, I wouldn't be in favor of bringing anybody down.
Okay, is there any other discussion? Councilor Frida?
I'm not sure that there's a charge for that. At one time, that used to be part of the city agreement. They would come down and update us. So I don't know that there's a charge. Did they say there was a charge?
I can find out what's included in our contract now. I believe the last time we were charged, but again, I can double check.
I mean, that's,
Well, I think more importantly, let's find out if this list is up to date and inclusive.
I think it's important. We have new councilors here. We've never had a discussion about any of the litigation in the city. I think it's important that they be able to hear from the city solicitor how long some of these have been going on. Some of them might be new. Some of them might be 20 years old. I think there should be an opportunity for some of the newer councilors to hear that.
Well, I don't. My point on this is, I don't know what we talk about and be looking at each other. It's not. I mean, we're not going to have them down of our general legal discussion. So,
Okay.
in any event, let's find out if this list is up
I will
to
make
date.
a motion.
Councilor Cormier?
I would just say, I looked over it as well. I would rather see let's get an updated first before having anybody come in, especially on our next hearing, and on our next council meeting, because I would like a chance to look at it. Obviously, I mean, the oldest case on here, and I understand what you're saying, Councilor Frida, is a 1985 case, but when you look at it, it is there's a stipulation of dismissal in March. So there is nothing else older on this. I would much rather see if we can get an update first, and then decide if we should have somebody come in.
Okay, Councilor Angelini, I did see your hand, and then I'll go back to Councilor Frida.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm in agreement with actually the two members who joined me on legal affairs. There was nothing on there that I thought was alarming or that was time sensitive. And, I mean, we could be looking at up to a $750 bill between the commute time, the time with us, and I think that the taxpayer money ill spent, in my opinion. And don't forget, if something does arise that the council thought would require an executive session, then we could ask for one at any time. We're not required to do this during a certain period of the year.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, Councilor Frida.
past experience tells me that some things that we're told when we have these meetings are litigation that's been going on for 10 years, 15 years, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less. I think we have an obligation when we're paying these bills to ask why it's taken so long to settle an issue, or why something is taking so long. Sometimes there's a legitimate reason, but I requested this over 6 months ago, so I will make the motion that we ask. I can't imagine that we don't want to know what we're paying for every time we have a city solicitor bill. We haven't been getting the bills. We just got one not too long ago, and now they're starting to come again.
Yeah, we got two
We haven't been
sets.
getting those for a long time. I mean, we have a responsibility here to look at some of these when we vote to pay it. So, just my opinion. I mean, I'm one person. My opinion. I can't imagine anybody would want to refuse to hear it.
Is there any
I'll
other
make the
discussion? Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr?
Well, can the city clerk, can you follow up with Copeland and Page, ask them if this is a complete picture of what they're doing for us, and then let us know, and then maybe we can reschedule. I mean, it really is thin. I mean, it'd be a 10-minute, 15-minute conversation at the most.
Yeah, I can email them again. And
And
ask.
also find out if we have to pay for the trip. I'm
Yeah.
curious about that.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, so Councilor Frida, do you want to make a motion?
I made the motion.
Which is-
If nobody seconds it, then it's not voted on, but I
What-
made the motion.
What is your motion, that we go ahead and have them down here on June 27th at 6 PM? Okay, so that is your motion. Is there a second to the motion right now?
I'll second.
Councilor Brady. Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, the motion on the floor is to have the city solicitor come in on June 27th, 2022 at 6 PM. If there's no other discussion, then I'll take a vote. All those in favor of having this executive session signify in the usual manner. Those opposed? So by a vote of 2 to 7, we are not going to go forward with this right now. Madam Clerk, if you could please tell them that we're requesting an update on right up through tomorrow on what's pending, and find out about what the charges are, and we'll be happy to, revisit this probably in July.
Okay.
Okay? All right. Is there any other new business to come before the city council? Councilor Frida?
I got old business.
Okay. We do have one piece of old business to deal with first, and then I'll go back to general old business, if you don't mind, if there's no other new business. The old business is a second reading of an ordinance, 49-22. Mr. Chairman, are you ready to report on that?
I am indeed, Mr. President. Thank you. Old business, second reading of an ordinance. This is 49-22. Elizabeth Wood, on behalf of the Planning Board, requests to amend the zoning ordinance pertaining to the solar ordinance. Article 3, Table of Uses, Section 22-104 of zoning, per attached. We have back from the city solicitor the final ordinance, which I read at our last meeting. So for the second time, in the year 2022, an ordinance be it ordained by the city council of the city of Leominster as follows. Chapter 22, Section 22-104 of the revised ordinances entitled Zoning Ordinance is hereby amended by amending Article 3, Table of Uses as follows. It gives a chart for residential uses, and further amended by deleting Article 17, Section 22-104, Solar Ordinance in its entirety, and inserting in its place the following. And then there is a 9-page document that accompanies it, which is the ordinance that we worked on. So at this time, Mr. President, I would recommend that we adopt the second reading of the solar ordinance, and I would ask you to poll members of my committee.
Okay, Councilor Bedanza?
I'm in favor.
Councilor Cormier?
I agree.
Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to adopt the second reading of this ordinance, which was formerly Petition 49-22. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I will do this in roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Bedanza.
Yay?
Counselor Cormier?
Yay.
Counselor Arger?
Yay.
Counselor Angelini?
Yay.
Counselor Brady?
Yay.
Counselor Shalfo Zephyr?
Yay.
Counselor Deacon?
Yay.
Counselor Frida?
Yay.
And I will be recorded as yay by a vote of 9-0. 49-22, or the second reading of former petition 49-22 has been adopted. Counselor Frida, you said you had some old business?
Yeah, just to the clerk, maybe it's just me reading it wrong, but on this motion and vote to order on the school feasibility at the next meeting, there's a line in here that I'm not sure is appropriate to us. I know this is a template.
I received it that way. If you have a question about it, I'm happy to ask the mayor's office
Yeah,
about it. Because
only because it says, to meet this appropriation, the city council, with the approval of the mayor, is authorized to borrow said amount under and pursuant to Mass General Law.
it reads like a bond,
We
but we're
don't
not borrowing.
borrow
We're
the money.
taking it from the stable, right? I can
So I
follow up with
think
the mayor's office.
Before we get hung up and it's not accepted the next time, I think we need to clarify that,
Sure,
that
yeah.
language.
No problem.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you for that, Counselor Frida. That might save us some headaches at the next meeting. We'll get that cleaned up before then. Madam Clerk, if you can make that a priority in the morning, thank you. Is there any other old business to come before the City Council? Anything under the community calendar? Counselor Frida.
Just wanted to make note that at Mount Wachusett Community College's graduation, which was the first time it was public in 2 years, Nettie Latimer from the Spanish American Center was awarded the Mount Wachusett Community College Service Above Self Award. Certainly well-deserved for her contribution to the community. So I just wanted to clear that. And while we're on the subject of Mount Wachusett, it's kind of exciting that the Leominster campus, which is down Urban Way, is expanding, the Leominster campus. It's strong in workforce development. There are more Leominster students going to the college, so it will be ready in 2023. But it's, as a trustee of the college and as a member of the Committee on Schools, I think it's pretty exciting that we're expanding a community college in our own community. So, yeah,
Good news.
that's it for me.
Very good news. Thank you.
Politics are on in a half hour.
Thank you, Counselor Frida. Is there anything else to come under the community calendar? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion for adjournment. Counselor Bedanza, I saw your hand first. Counselor Shalfo Zephyr, you want to second it?
Sure.
Okay, but Counselor Bedanza and Counselor Shalfo Zephyr, all those in favor of adjourning signify in usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, we are now adjourned.
The Leominster City Council meeting is funded in part by DeCarolis Insurance Agency at www.decarolisinsuranceagency.com and by Avidia Bank at www.avidiabank.com.